The world is full of moments we see, and moments we don't. Some moments are fleeting, lost in a crowd, or hidden behind flashing cameras. And then there are moments that define everything. Moments that remind us that love isn't always about grand gestures. Sometimes it's about protection. And sometimes it's about standing up when no one else will. For Dylan Wang and Shen Yue, this wasn't a movie scene. It wasn't a scripted drama. It was life. It was real. The paparazzi had been relentless lately. They followed every step, every public appearance, every casual smile. Shen Yue, normally calm and composed, was feeling the weight of it. Every glance over her shoulder reminded her that her privacy had been stripped away. Every flash of the camera was a reminder that the world wasn't kind to those in love. Dylan Wang noticed, not just as a co-star, not just as someone who cared, but as someone who loved her. He saw the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes darted, searching for safety, in a world that offered none. And in that moment, he made a decision. He would protect her. It began quietly, a simple gesture, a hand at her back as they walked, shielding her from the harsh glare of the cameras. A gentle word in her ear, reassuring her, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Fans watching from afar noticed. Some thought it was polite. Some thought it was normal. But those who paid attention knew it was something more. Because Dylan Wang didn't just walk with her. He anticipated the crowd, stepping between the flashes and the lenses, becoming a living barrier, a human shield. The paparazzi tried to follow. They shouted questions, called for attention, but he never faltered. Every step, every movement, was calculated, precise, protective. And Shen Yue, she began to relax. Just a little. Just enough to feel safe. It wasn't long before the fans noticed. Videos of the moment surfaced online. Slow-motion clips showed him, turning his body instinctively, eyes scanning for threats, while her hand lightly touched his arm. For reassurance. Every frame screamed devotion. Every gesture whispered, "I'm here. You're safe." Comments poured in. "Look at how he shields her." Fans, can we appreciate this love? This isn't acting anymore. This is real life. It wasn't about romance. It wasn't about gossip. It was about respect. About care. About love expressed in its quietest form. Shen Yue, of course, noticed the attention. At first, she felt embarrassed. She wasn't used to public displays, even small ones like this. But as she looked at Dylan Wang, really looked, she realized something profound. He wasn't doing this for fans. He wasn't doing this for cameras. He was doing this for her. Not as an actor protecting an image. Not as a co-star protecting a reputation. As a man protecting the woman he loved. The paparazzi continued to shout. A sudden push from behind. The crowd surged. A flashbulb hit too close to the side of her face. And then, instinctively, he acted. He turned sharply, stepping between her and the danger. His arm moved like a shield, his body a barrier. Every motion precise, instinctive, protective. It was a simple act, but one that said more than any words could. Fans couldn't stop talking. Clips went viral in minutes. "They're really in love," one wrote. "No doubt about it," another commented. Even casual viewers, people who didn't follow their story, could see it. This wasn't staged. It wasn't scripted. It was pure, unfiltered human instinct. Later that evening, Shen Yue spoke quietly about the moment. Not to the media, not to the world, but to those who would listen. "I felt safe," she said softly, "like nothing could touch me." And those words, they carried weight. Because in a world full of flashing lights, criticism and gossip, feeling safe is a rare gift. And he had given it to her. But protecting her wasn't just about that day. It wasn't a single moment captured in pixels. It was every day before. Every whispered warning. Every careful step through crowded streets. Every glance to make sure she wasn't hurt. It was love expressed in quiet actions. A devotion that didn't need recognition. A presence that demanded no applause. Fans pieced together the story. They looked back at past appearances. The gentle touches. The protective stances. The way he seemed to anticipate where the cameras would be. Before anyone else even noticed. It wasn't accidental. It was instinct. It was love. Social media exploded. Fandoms merged. Videos analyzed frame by frame. Threads of admiration, excitement, and pure joy filled every platform. But amidst the frenzy, there was also understanding. People realized that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's unseen. Sometimes it's standing just behind someone and making sure they're never hurt. Dylan Wang's act of protection became symbolic, not just of love between two people, but of respect, of commitment, of the kind of devotion that survives scrutiny, danger, and chaos. Even the media began to shift. Instead of invasive questions, some journalists praised his actions, acknowledging the humanity behind the headlines. For once the world paused, to witness love in its simplest, strongest form. And Shen Yue, in her own quiet way, responded to the world's attention not with words, but with gratitude. A subtle smile, a soft gaze toward him, a touch that said everything words never could. Fans watched every moment, and it became clear. This was real. This wasn't a story for the cameras. It wasn't a moment to go viral. It was love, pure and simple, expressed in actions rather than words. In the days that followed, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue's relationship gained a new layer of admiration. People weren't just drawn to their talent. They weren't just drawn to the headlines. They were drawn to the quiet, unshakable bond that had survived scrutiny, danger, and relentless attention. Because love isn't always about drama. Sometimes it's about safety. Sometimes it's about being there when the world isn't kind. Fans speculated endlessly. Was this the start of something new? Was this the confirmation they had hoped for? But the answer didn't matter. What mattered was the proof of devotion, the evidence that someone could care so deeply, that they'd risk everything, their image, their privacy, their reputation, just to make sure the person they loved was protected. Months later, footage of that day was still being shared. Commentaries, reaction videos, and fan edits all celebrated the same truth. Love doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to perform. It doesn't need recognition. Sometimes it just stands behind you, quiet, steadfast, unwavering. And that's what Dylan Wang did. He didn't act for fans. He didn't act for cameras. He acted for Shen Yue, for the woman who trusted him, for the woman he loved, and for everyone watching. It was impossible not to notice. Because in that moment, he wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't a star. He wasn't an actor playing a role. He was a man in love. And love, real love, can be felt, even through the lens of a camera. The paparazzi eventually dispersed. The day ended. The flashes dimmed. But what remained was a story of devotion. A story that reminded fans why they followed Dylan Wang and Shen Yue in the first place. Not for the drama, not for the rumors, but for moments like this. Pure, protective, and undeniable love. Even today, clips of that moment are still watched, analyzed, shared, because it captures a truth we all wish for. Love is strongest when it protects. Love is fiercest when it cares. And love is most real